Hi, I'm Tom, and this is my first and hopefully only controversial video that I have to make. Those of you who normally watch my videos hopefully see me as a positive hobby person, and I try my best to leave my personal feelings on controversial topics on the cutting room floor before I release any videos, so that everyone can enjoy them. So why am I making this one? Two reasons. Firstly, because I had previously said in multiple videos and comments that I would do content for Heresy 3.0 rules, as well as make battle reports as soon as possible. Secondly, because I feel that we as a community need to speak up about this behavior from a corporation and what I feel is false advertisement. This video will likely single-handedly stop me from ever being a Games Workshop partner, and so be it. Not speaking truth to power out of fear of loss or reprisal was not how I was raised, and those that know me personally hopefully recognize that that is true. First of all, I also want to say that I am not trying to influence you, your hobby, your decisions, or your opinions on the following topics. I'm trying to explain why I am not going to make as much 3.0 content as I had planned and talked about in previous videos. If there are to be any discussions in the comments section, please be respectful towards each other. And if a person keeps disagreeing with you and your viewpoint, then just move on from that particular discussion. Be the mature and respectful community that we pride ourselves in being. Like I said, if you do stick around, note that I am sharing my opinions and feelings. And I will hopefully end on a positive note if you can keep an open mind until we get there. If not, I'm sure I'll put in timestamps as I normally do, and you can skip around. Right. So, the next couple of points, I can probably spend an hour or so on why I'm frustrated, and I feel like I need to give a few examples to clear my frustrations. But the main reason that I'm choosing to make this video, and it's not for clickbaits or anything, is that I feel like we've been lied to in order to buy the new edition. This is the core of my frustration. Not that my little plastic soldiers and whatever it is you're about to say. It's what I feel like is a corporation lying to us to get us to buy a product. This is why I'm making this. But I will give many examples of little toy soldiers. So, 3.0. I initially liked what I saw. I'm a very detailed oriented guy. I love role-playing games. I love getting into all the granularity and all that. So, I was in the beginning. But after the first round of leaks of the core rulebook, I had a crisis of faith, so to speak. Now here it's important to say that I did not expect to like everything about the edition, but even at this point I had my reservations about how 3.0 will play at events and how much of a drop-off there will be throughout the cycle. But this is a different topic. This isn't the main issue. I have always assumed that there will be mistakes. But I have also always said to anyone around me, it is okay for them to botch the launch, and they do get a chance to fix it. They didn't with 2.0. There was next to no post-launch support other than some new books and some models, but neither of those addressed the core issues. But this is a new cycle, so maybe different philosophy. The rules certainly look like it. So I hope they fix what has been game-breaking for me, but even if they do, the trust has been broken, I feel, and it is not easily repaired. They will get a chance, in any case. Anyway, after that first round of leaks, I took a break from following the rumors and I settled into a sort of, I will still pick it up kind of vibes, because that is what everyone else is going to be playing, and I want to play games with my friends. And that is where I was until Friday, the 10th of July. That is where most of the Liber leaks happened, if you're watching this at a later date. At first, I thought this has to be miscommunication between the design team and the marketing team. I'm not sure if that's excusable, but at least partially understandable, I guess. Because on May 23rd, they wrote this very reassuring part in their article. Basically, just what the community at large had been asking and hoping for. And if you haven't read it already, it says, "This is very much the same Horus Heresy game you know and love, and the team have made targeted refinements to a system that already works really well, making changes only where necessary and adding flavor wherever they can." Given the first round of leaks, that proved to be entirely untrue. The only thing that remained the same were the name of the game, some of the rules, but even those rules with the same name now had completely different effects. For context, rules didn't even change this much between 1.0 and 2.0. everything was different. And no, I'm not afraid of change, but that wasn't what they were trying to sell us. A wholesale change, that is. In this article, they're trying to sell us that it is the 2.5 that the community was hoping for. Now we get to the main issue, where things couldn't be excused with incompetence anymore. No longer was it down to miscommunication between the design and marketing teams. Because on July 9th, we were told by the lead writer that, and I quote, "There won't be much here that changes how your current army works. You might need another Centurion for the new force organization, but that's about it." Also on July 7th, we were told by Andy that you can expect a lot of calls to kitbash in the journals. There's so much cross-compatibility and modularity in the Horus Heresy range, which makes sense from both gaming and narrative points of view. I know he's talking about the journals here, and I have read the full paragraph and article. But what they're selling here is a vision and a promise to us as consumers. Also, why are we not allowed to kitbash core units, but only DLC units? If they are making a newcomer-friendly game without having to make too many decisions, then why is the charge phase now 66 steps? Then the Liber leaks happened, and we could see that it wasn't miscommunication and incompetence, but rather what I would say is false advertisement, because this isn't the same game with targeted refinements. You don't just need an extra Centurion to play the game, and I will give you plenty of examples of why. And the kit bash philosophy is kinda dead and gone. Well, unless you happen to buy the new kits, that is, and I'll show you examples of that too. I actually think it is so cheeky and downright funny that I had to start with that last part first. The TLDR, which I will get back to in a bit, is that they completely removed all options from all units that isn't supplied in the official box they come in, with some minor exceptions that I will also touch on. So the funny example from the leaks is the Siegebreaker. I really want to show you the leaked pages, but I also don't want to get hunted down by Games Workshop. So I will read it to you and you can confirm it in your books when you do get them. As you can see here, a Siegebreaker can only be armed the way that the Resin console is armed, just like all the other Resin consoles. Sure, you might say, we can live with that. People shouldn't be converting stuff anyway, or whatever argument you want to use here. That's fine if you feel that way. Completely legit. But actually, we're not done yet. He does have two pieces of war gear options. He can take melter bombs. Sure, that's fine. And I guess that doesn't really have to be on the physical model. Most people don't. But wait, we're not done. He actually has one more option. And only one. You can swap his bolt pistol for a disintegrator pistol for 5 points. So, let's just get this straight. You are allowed to kit bash, as long as you buy the new models. Plasma pistol, Graph pistol, Volkite Serpenta, nah, just the Saturnine stuff. Let's take a look at some of the examples I read before I gave up reading the rest of it, as it was too depressing. There are many examples out there, and honestly, this part could be the whole video, but I will stick with the headlines and some stuff that really grinds my gears, and leave it for the rest of the internet to dissect the myriad of ways that the war gear and unit options have changed. On the surface, the missing war gear options seem to fall into two main categories, and I'm going to try and argue why both annoy me. Typos. By now you've probably heard about the Gorgon Terminators not having access to the combi bolters they come with out of the box. This is most likely a typo. I don't see why it wouldn't be. You probably also heard about the Tartarus Terminators not being able to equip power fists, even though they're in the plastic kit. Chain fists too, and they're also in the kit. Probably a typo, right? Except if there's a new kit coming that doesn't include them, but let's not go into that. And there are many more examples here to choose from. But honestly, what does this say about the care and the quality that they've been putting into the product that they're selling? Reading the articles, they've clearly been working on this stuff pretty much since before the 2.0 launch. They definitely had with the Saturnine stuff. Maybe not the rules, but I can only guess and assume. And here, I admit to making some assumptions. In any case, in all that time, these typo mistakes would have had to got by at least 3 people, hopefully 4 or 5 people. The designer writing the rules in the first place, the playtester using the units, especially if he's playtesting with armies that he currently have, the proofreader, if they have one, the editor of the book, and or hopefully the last part, the project manager. Hopefully he reads what the designers write at some point. And yet these things got through. These things that we caught the second we looked at him and our cabinets of models. And were like, I can't equip the squad the way that they come. All you had to do was look at the pictures on the website, or look at the old 1.0 or 2.0 books as a reference, and then remove your newly unsanctioned kit bashes from those lists. So the typo thing does not inspire confidence in me, especially when extending this to the rule set as a whole. The Games Workshop doesn't sell it that way problem. The second way that Wargear options are limited, what I would call the 40k way of doing things. Build the box, that is it. Yet, here are some of official Templar Brethren, and here is a good portion of mine, built to specifications as supplied by Forge World. They were only officially discontinued some months ago, I assume, because they disappeared from the website. So never officially retired. Sure, the plastic Mark III kit was replaced with one that's incompatible with the old upgrade set, but they have always supplied Templar Brethren with an option of resin Mark III bodies. So why is this invalid when you can still buy older sculpts in this scale and this style to this day? This is the only option they come with in the box. Sword, combat shield, and bolt pistol. Guess what they can't have anymore? Pistol and shield at the same time. As you can see on this picture, the shields are part of the arm's construction, making up part of the forearm. So I cannot rip them off, and the pistols, well, Games Workshop doesn't sell any official just hands bundles where I can fix this. I'd have to replace the entire arms with new bolt pistol arms, or combat shield arms, which is the new ones in the opposite hand, as far as I can tell. And that is if I was even about to fix this. I am not. All because I can only assume, you are expected to make Templars these days using the new combat shields. And the new combat shields are not designed to have a pistol in your hand at the same time, even though this has been the design language of combat shields classically up until the new combat shields. But this is entirely besides the point, as why can't you just still have a holstered pistol on the models and be allowed to use both, even if the shield model doesn't have a pistol in the hand? I know this could be FAQ'd and whatnot, but stuff like this is just the straw that broke my camel's back. I'm not mad because I spent hundreds of pounds on official models that aren't technically legal anymore. This is nothing new, which is a very sad thing to say. When I was reading through the leaks, I stopped counting the legal loadouts after about 85 models. But since then, I have of course seen many more leaks, and I just haven't added the numbers up, but it's definitely way above 100, maybe even closer to 200. So this isn't what they promised us, and I quote, "There won't be much here that changes how your current army works. You might need another centurion for the new force organization, but that's about it." I can tell from my collection, as is, that is not true. You are of course free to differ on this opinion, but I'm thinking this is more like fact than opinion at this point. But imagine this. You have read all the articles and no leaks had happened. And then you would have found out after spending hundreds of pounds or dollars on the new box and all the books relevant to all us veteran players with multiple factions. I would have been furious. I also just want to say that I am far from the worst hurt by these changes. I've seen some people online with hundreds of invalidated models. Think of all the time, love, and money that has gone into projects like these, only to be destined to live in storage until eventually being disposed of. Or you have to crack that nice paint job you did to try and get that hand off, which could be plastic cemented together. It's not going to be a clean fix, and nor do I want to redo it. Thoughts and prayers go out to Space Wolf players especially here. That is a sentence I never thought I would say. Or Blood Angels or White Scar players who are going to have naked squads of dudes racing ahead of their foot-slugging commanders behind them. Well, actually, the new journal looks like it will include a jump pack console, so the Day 1 DLC will fix some of the issues, but you have to buy it, right? Or, put a
brand new Prospering Sorcerer in Terminator armor so you can walk around with your squad of Sekhmet Terminators. Only you can't put any consoles in Terminator armor. Well, I guess until a DLC comes out for that, right? And yet, some people claim that this will be a more narratively open edition when constructing army lists. I fail to see that at this point in time. But I guess I'll wait and see what the legacies do. Until then, I'm not buying it. You can't even use the official Warhammer World exclusive librarian in Terminator armor either. I mean, that doesn't exist. That would have been annoying too if I had that. A gorgeous model I actually would love to have whenever I do get over there again. Sure, these much anticipated legacy PDFs might solve the last couple of issues I pointed out here, but I would have to be beyond optimistic to hope that somehow all the missing war gear options are somehow going to appear in these legacies documents. They'll basically need to have unit entries for all Astartes units in there. And what would be the point of the Libers then, if that's the case, besides the artwork and lore? But the PDFs are free, so why? In case they somehow appear in the legacy PDFs, I would say they didn't do a very good job at communication or damage control during the last few days. All they had to do was say that they're in there. But yeah, if they're in there and this was planned all along, they really need to work on communication with their customers and setting expectations. Like I said, the trust is hard to regain. But not a big deal. Just use the official out-of-box stuff. Right. Another example is my Volkite Breachers, and for that matter, any special weapons as far as I recall. The new kit likely won't feature them, so they aren't an option, of course, because the new Volkite Chargers has a hand on there to fit the monopose tacticals. So what is the big deal? Just snap them off, even though these were official Forge World upgrade kits that I bought to put on there. Just put some bolters back on there. Well, I used that for other projects. One of them was trying to stay WYSIWYG in 2.0, but only on a single unit. I used 25 of them to make my Phalanx Waters compatible with 2.0 when they came with a bolter as standard. Here I put them mag-locked to their legs or backpacks as described in the lore. But of course you cannot give Phalanx Waters bolters in 3.0. So that's also a problem. I guess I can just snap them off, repaint the legs, and put them on my breachers. But like I said, I'm not doing that. Also, many of these are plastic cemented on there, because I built them to last, I would hope. Some of the other bolters have gone to other projects, such as my World Eaters, to give them heresy-appropriate gear. WYSIWYG is important to me. I don't like proxying. I like when I am 3 games in at an event, and my mind is checked out, that I can, with a certain degree of confidence, look at both my own and my opponent's models, and be aware of what they are armed with, and thus help inform my decisions on the battlefield. I don't want to have to remember that this Volkite squad is bolters, or this bolter squad is Volkites, or whatever it might be. WYSIWYG is a point of pride for me. Probably way more than most, and that is fine. All my units have exactly what it says in their unit profile. Down to my lowly tactical marines, as I'm showing here, having their standard issue bolt pistol, frag and crack grenades, and some additional pouches for spare ammunition. Pick any model in my army, and the story will be the same. Let's get this wrapped up. The big problem here is they tried to sell us one thing and we got a different thing. Saying the right things all along, but the truth was different. That is what I'm taking issue with. I'm no stranger to war gear changes. That to me is abusive business practice. Yet some of you are probably about to comment stuff like, go outside, or it is just toy soldiers. And you're correct, but I do not stand for false advertisement. That has nothing to do with the game in the end. That is company policy. Up until this point, I've been a staunch advocate for buying legit models, only using Games Workshop bits in my conversions, never using 3D prints on my own models, and never thought about buying recast stuff, even though the prices are very tempting and they have the stuff that's out of production. At this point, I don't see why I need to be loyal to a company who is disloyal towards its customers. And this isn't the first time either, but this was my last Games Workshop game that I played and bought stuff for actively. So what is the solution here? Wait for the journals. Get the paid DLC to fix the issues. After we've had a chance to replace our old units we couldn't bring ourselves to bear to snap apart and fix. If it was an unfortunate typo here or there, then sure, then the solution was in erratas or FAQs. But this is an across-the-board problem, in my opinion. Too much for a PDF that says on page 117 add the following options, on page 188 add the following options, and so on and so forth. It is just too clunky, and I'm going to bet that they don't pick that solution. I hope I'm wrong. So if they solve it, which I'm not optimistic about, then it will be through something that we need to buy, be it a general's handbook style thing or a journal. So they're gonna sell us the solution. That is my bet, if there even is one. Let's be realistic here. They have openly said that they're going to do journals on various campaigns, Sol Mortalis, and even all legions are gonna have a journal, ignoring the campaigns and all the other stuff and factions. That is 18 legions. Even with one journal a month, that is 18 months. How long are you gonna wait until your legion gets fixed? Sure, not as long as 1.0, but this is a day one problem. Also, they have a really good track record of treating all legions equally in terms of support and rules, right? So what does this mean for my channel? This means that I didn't end up pre-ordering the box, the 2 Libers, and a journal as I had planned. It also means that I had a series planned where I would try and learn this new comprehensive rule set by teaching a subject on camera with dice and models. So to better learn it myself, this is the type of learner I am, by teaching others. And by doing it in video format, I can even use it as reference material for myself in the future. Here are some of the topics that I was definitely going to do. And I still might pick up 3.0, but at this point in time, I'm going to wait until a set shows up secondhand that I can rescue or get at a fair price. Until then, I'm going to be looking in friends' books, I suppose, or the leaks, which is something that normally shames me to say, but at this point, I'm way more content with saying that. So maybe I will make some very out-of-date content at that point. Who knows? I also had a 3.0 bat rep planned, where I would rush to paint some of the new units and get them on the table and showcase it. That obviously won't happen either, at least not until I get the second-hand box set. Well, of course, there might be some 3.0 bat reps, but no Saturnine units until then, of course. I'd also really look forward to doing some army building live streams, as I did actually look forward to that part, and see what I could do with my existing collections. That may still happen, but of course in a very limited scope, given that a good chunk of my models aren't fieldable in their current state, which won't change. So what then, instead? I survived 3 Games Workshop apocalypses and the Y2K, so I will still be here. I survived the demise of fantasy in its original incarnation. I still have the models. I survived 8th edition 40K, where many of my models were invalidated. They're still in my cabinet, just like my Heresy models will be. And I will survive Heresy 3.0. I love Heresy. The setting and the models, that hasn't changed. But my own self-imposed restrictions are easing as a result. I can feel that veil thinning, that's for sure. If their intent was to discourage people from 3D printing and buying recast stuff, I think in my case it might have the opposite effect. Sorry to say. I will still be making hobby content, but I'm building my units and my characters to 1.0/2.0 specs. And if that happens to be compatible with 3.0, then I could use them in those games, but I won't build intentionally for it. As we've been shown, in 3 years, those loadouts might not be legal anyway, even if there's a current kit for it. So I will continue as if nothing has happened. I got so many 2.0 projects and dreams I never got finished, and now I will be going back to doing so, but probably made out of mostly second-hand rescues. This isn't cynicism. This is practicality. The only vote I have in this is my wallet, and I choose to use my vote in this case. Caveat for future videos, if anyone is going to pick up on it, I do have a gift certificate for Games Workshop's website, and I intend to use it. So I will be buying something, I guess. Well, it's already bought. I just have to get something when it gets back in stock. But I want to build a drop pod assault army list. I want to pick up some second-hand drop pods. Maybe the old ones will be available. If not, I'll pick up some new ones, I suppose. Second-hand, as I hear there are some issues with that in 40k currently. I want to finish building an Armored Spearhead army list. I also want to finish building a Pride of the Legion all Terminator list. I also want to finish my militia allied force. In one version of it, I want it to be led by Keeler, so that it can be allied to a force of Sigismund and a bunch of Templars, as they go around crusading during the latter parts of the Siege of Terra. I also have some ideas for what I hope will be some super cool allied units from other legions that are both flavorful and lore appropriate to add to my current armies. I might even start a new legion project too. I've been toying with that idea. Probably another rescue or 40k to 30k type of project. I got so many ideas and things that I want to do, and I feel unshackled to do them now. I don't have to be in this holding pattern of I better wait and see if I'm making a mistake doing it like this, or I wonder if there will be an update in the legacies or a journal that fixes or addresses or adds to this. I already have a fully working game system that the community can now refine into the product that we actually did want, 2.5. I think the thing I am most hyped about right now is challenging myself to clear my backlog of my current Heresy inventory. I got a lot of things built, also stuff on sprues and in project bins, and I want to try and finish as much of it as I can. I've managed to do this for other game systems, so it is time to complete my current piles of Heresy goodness and turn them into these projects and lists that I want to be able to have in my collection, regardless of editions. So I think I might do a video series on this challenge instead of my planned 3.0 content instead. I don't know what will happen with battle reports on the channel. It seems like most people are moving on to 3.0 in my area, so there will likely be some 3.0 battle reports, but maybe some 2.0 or 1.0. I'm not limiting myself to just the newest edition here going forward. I've also had great experiences with fan-made projects like the Warhammer Armies project for fantasy before Games Workshop dipped their toes back into the old world. So I'm not ruling that out either. You can feel the love in these projects. Maybe the community will fix 3.0, but that still doesn't give Games Workshop a free pass in my book if they hand the burden on to us to fix it. Lastly, if they do not address these issues, then I sincerely hope for what I have always dreaded with the Horus Heresy, a 3-year cycle. Because in this case, I can maybe look forward to seeing if they're gonna correct things in 4.0. Thank you for listening to my frustrations and the reasons why I'm not going to be spamming 3.0 content shortly. And again, if there is to be any discussions in the comments, please be respectful towards each other. And like I said in the beginning, if a person keeps disagreeing with your viewpoint, no matter what it is, please move on. Be the mature and respectful community that we pride ourselves in being. Thank you. I'm no longer in a hurry to finish up what I thought would be my last 2.0 battle report. It is still in the editing room, so to speak, but I am actually very hyped to do a lot of hobby once again. It's all been in a holding pattern the last quite a few months actually. So I'm looking at a bunch of tanks, some more Templars. Yes, more Templars with pistol and shield. Yes, original Forgeworld ones. And yeah, I'm looking forward to building more of those for bulking out my Templar force even more. I'm looking forward to doing some World Eaters character conversions, because no matter what edition, I want more characters to choose from. And I got some Rampagers to build, and also some conversions to add to those to bulk out the squads. So I'm looking forward to doing all of that. And if it happens to be 3.0 compatible, sure, fine, I can use it, but I'm not building for it. Anyway, I'm gonna go do some of all that stuff after I've edited this miserable video. Look forward to doing some hobby. Thanks for listening, guys. Cheers.